Our motoring tip of the week concerns your vehicle's suspension. Now, when you consider the abuse that it takes, it's a wonder it lasts as long as it does. I mean, it takes a pounding from potholes and all the obstacles that you hit in the course of a year or two of driving. And then factor in the fact that it's got all this road salt and slush and sand that's pelted up underneath, splashing in the summertime from rainstorms. It's a wonder that those components in your vehicle's suspension last as long as they do. And also consider the fact that some of the components, like the coil springs, support the entire weight of the vehicle for their whole life. They're under a lot of pressure, a lot of load. Now, this vehicle, you know, and here's another thing. If you keep a vehicle long enough for enough years and enough kilometers, sooner or later, these components, as good as they are, will wear out. And that's what we've got here. This vehicle's got a broken coil spring on the left front, and it's also got the upper strut plate on the left front strut has seized. The bearing in it has seized. So at low speed, if we're in a parking lot trying to turn the wheels extreme left and right to get into a parking space, there's an awful noise out of the left front suspension. Quick inspection with a flashlight reveals that the coil spring is broken in two places and that upper strut plate is bad. Because the vehicle is jacked up and the suspension's hanging down, we can actually remove the broken piece of the coil spring. You can see how rusty that coil spring was, and it's been snapped for a while because the broken ends are all rusted as well. So fortunately, over the years, a lot of the aftermarket manufacturers have come up with prepackaged components, and in this case it's going to save the motorist some money on the labor side, and the fact that because it's packaged or bundled, you save money on the collective cost of buying these parts individually. So the blue component is the strut or shock absorber component. You can see the steering arm that's welded onto the strut on this particular model of vehicle. The lower spring seat right here also welded to the strut. A rubber cushion for the bottom of the coil spring, a brand new coil spring, this gaiter, which is the boot that protects it, and the jounce bumper up here, this white urethane component, and the upper strut mounting plate, an isolator assembly at the top. But here's the tip. Some of these components don't produce noise or the kind of symptoms we had on this car. You can have worn out components on a car and have no perceivable problem. You can't hear anything, it doesn't sit low. You could still have a worn out ball joint that's ready to separate. So it's important on an older vehicle or high mileage vehicle that you're doing those inspections at least once a year to pick up on any of these worn components before they actually cause you a problem. That's your motoring tip of the week.